Hi, welcome to IAS Factor by LearnStroke, and we are listening to the current affairs class for 2024 prelims examination. And you're with me, Arjun or Shankar. In the meanwhile, do check about read about my profile also. And today it's going to be a general session. As you know, all the news are taken from Hindu, Indian Express, and PIB. And if you want to do a better time management, definitely go for a 1.5 quick X speed. And if you are okay with it, and then or else if you want to go slow. And let's in the meanwhile do download our learning app, LearnStroke IAS or IAS Factor. You can search in the Play Store and do subscribe to our YouTube channel and read all the details that you want to get in touch with me. And let's go on to today's important topics that we are going to discuss. Is very important. All these things have appeared in the newspaper. The National Disaster Management Policy is one. And what is 103 amendment and its impact? What is and some of the recent issues? And every time we see newspapers, we see this news written India's net zero target. So what do you mean by net zero targets and analysis? What is net zero target, and what are NDCs or nationally determined contributions, and what is CBDR? The principle of CBDR, common but differentiated responsibilities. What do you mean by that? And in the news, the Gulf of Khambhat, what are the features, and complete details about Agni-Prime, the ballistic missiles called Agni-Prime, and the full series of Agni missiles in detail. I'll just quickly tell you what is Agni 1, Agni 2, Agni 3, what to note about this. And also India's nuclear power and energy statistics, something that can be very useful for the prelims. And something about the shrimp export statistics, what is India's performance in that? And what is ISPRL, Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited? And what are original equipment manufacturers or OEM, which appears in the newspaper, especially regarding the EV or electric vehicles in this context? And what is United Nations Human Rights Council? And definitely map decode. We are discussing two important countries that are in the news. So let's quickly move on to the topic right away. National Disaster Management Policy. You know that last 1 year there has been a lot of instances where we can see a lot of disasters and definitely you must know about the NDRF or the National Disaster Response Force, and even the SDRF, what is the role that they are doing. So in this, what is National Disaster Management Policy? Let's quickly understand. The National Disaster Management Policy in India is guided by NDMA. So very important, National Disaster Management Authority, the NDMA, which was established under the Disaster Management Act of 2005. See, such things can be very, very handy for prelims. They can ask you. It is guided by NDMA, which is a management authority, which is actually created by Act of 2005. So it is responsible for framing policies, guidelines, and coordinating enforcement of disaster management strategies across the country. So NDMA has a big role in tackling the disaster scene in India. And now let's see, the policy outlines mechanisms for a prompt and effective response. Prompt and effective response, and you know that NDRF works. It also details a strategy for recovery and rehabilitation of disaster. See, this is an important question for the mains also, especially when you see there is an earthquake, there is a cyclone, or there is a flood-like situation. Always understand, rather than mitigation, it's important for the mains definitely, but I'm just telling you, the post rehabilitation, how do you reconstruct the area once it is hit by flood? Everything is different. So this is, I just gave you a hint for the mains exam. And the NDMA focus on employment technology for better production, assessment, and mitigation. And what are some of the tools which NDMA use? It's the web-based dynamic composite risk atlas. So it is using a risk atlas and decision support system of cyclone impact forecasting. So all this is used by NDMA. So know about this. That was this is appearing in the news. That's why I came up with this topic. And next is regarding the 103rd amendment. Why is this news? Definitely talks about reservation. You must have heard about the EWS quota. So the 103 amendment of the Indian Constitution, enacted in 2019, number one, that is the point number one, introduced a 10% reservation quota for the EWS category of society, economically weaker sections, and this targets individuals from the general category. See, normally you know that reservation belongs to SC, ST, and even the OBC category. There is reservation, but this amendment specifically targets individual from the general category who are not covered by the usual reservation system. So this is that is targeted in EWS. So definitely wise amendment. It adds clauses 6 to article 15 and 16 of the constitution. So definitely you should see 103 is making amendments to article 15 and 16 of the constitution, allowing for reservation based solely on economic criteria independent of caste and community consideration. So apart from, usually we know that reservation is actually very keen on the basis of caste community, but income as a criteria. There was a lot of debate. One said that reservation in India should be based on one's, even if it is SC, ST or OBC, it should be based on income criteria. How much income do you have? But this is actually, so please understand, 15 and 16 is amended, and it specifies that the benefit is for those having an annual income below 8 lakh. That is it. 8 lakh, below 8 lakh, owning less than 5 acres of farmland. 5 acres is a ceiling, or house smaller than 1,000 square feet in urban area. So this is the EW's criteria, which was already there. And the amendment extends to both public and private educational institutions. Also, minority institutions are exempted. So EWS reservation should be given in both public and private educational institutions also, the 10% reservation. But minority educational institutions are exempted. So this is one important aspect of 103. And the constitutional validity of the 103 amendment was upheld by Supreme Court. It was actually a split verdict of 3-2, but definitely it was upheld. It was taken in. The court ruled that this special provision does not violate the basic structure of the constitution, and noted that 50% ceiling on reservation could be exceeded in exceptional circumstances, such as ceiling primarily applies to social and educational backward reservation, not economic funds. So Supreme Court clearly said that this is not a violation of the basic structure of the constitution. So definitely I'm hoping that by this time you must be remembering what constitutes the basic structure of the constitution. I'm sure you must be knowing about it. In exceptional cases, you can increase 50%. Reservation can even be increased only in exceptional cases. Okay, so that is a key word here. So the decision has set a precedent for using economic criteria as a basis of reservation, separate from caste-based reservation, and emphasize the government's role in promoting economic welfare of all sections, irrespective of social background. So definitely general candidates were looking forward for this reservation. But what about Tamil Nadu's case? That was in the news. Tamil Nadu government has told the Madras High Court that, please look at this glaring statistics. 89% of the state's population is already eligible for 69% reservation in education. So definitely education and public employment, 89% of the state population is eligible for 69% of reservation. So a lot of people in Tamil Nadu already have this, and therefore the state government cannot be compelled to implement the additional 10% reservation for EWS. So this is the current affair which Tamil Nadu has brought in. Already 89%, 69% reservation is already 69%, and this reservation is actually giving to 89% of the people. Now you cannot add a further 10%. The state cannot be made to add this. So please know about article the amendment 103 amending article 15 and 16 clause 6. They've added it. So this is definitely in the news. So know about 103. And next is regarding the net zero target. Every now and then when you look at the newspaper, this is one article from environment which has got the maximum number of. So you should know what is the net target by 2070. What is India going to achieve? So what is this net zero target? 2070 is our target. Simply understand, it is India's commitment to achieve a balance between the greenhouse gases put into the atmosphere and taken out. So please understand, have an image. We are contributing the greenhouse gases, and we are taking out the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere back. So this means by 2070, India aims to absorb or offset the same amount of greenhouse gases it emits, effectively bringing the net emission to zero. Whatever goes up is absorbed or offset. So whatever goes up is taken back, is absorbed back. This is what is called at net zero target of 2070. So how do you think this is going to be possible? Let's understand the most important points for the prelims exam. Let's see. So India plans to significantly increase its capacity for renewable energy. We definitely, to bring this, we need to make sure that the greenhouse gases or the carbon emissions are less. Use renewable energy, aiming for 500 gigawatt of fossil fuel energy by 2030. This is the statistics. Please understand, such statistics can be asked in the prelims examination as a statement. So definitely India is aiming for 500 gigawatt of non-fossil by 2030, and decreasing the emission across various sectors including power, transportation and industry, aiming to reduce the emissions intensity of its GDP by 45% by 2030. Just imagine. Decrease the emission from various sectors. Power is contributing an emission, transportation, industry, everything. The emission intensity of its GDP is 45%. So decrease emissions. Decrease emission is 1 point. Decrease emission is 1 point, and aiming for 500 gigawatt of non-fossil fuel is very important. And India will also need to enhance and preserve its carbon sinks like forest, other vegetation which can absorb CO2. We need to increase, enhance and preserve the carbon sinks. That means if there are more forest and other vegetation, they can absorb carbon dioxide, which will be very helpful for emission perspective. And next is also we need to make advancements in EV, electric vehicles, energy efficiency technology, sustainable agriculture practice, carbon capture and technology. So all this, if we have to develop net zero target, is easy. But definitely you should see that in the coming next 20 years, coal is projected to be the backbone of Indian energy system, which we need to decarbonize, reduce it. To achieve net zero by 2070, the electricity sector will have to decarbonize. Electricity sector also need to decarbonize, and the coal phase down also will need to be brought in. So all this is what is called as India's energy target. If all these things need to see, all this should happen, or else 2070 will not happen automatically. We have to do a lot of initiatives like this. And also let's understand what is NDC, or nationally determined contribution. Such things have been already asked in the prelims, but again they can ask another version of this. So please be ready for that. What do you mean by NDC? First of all, it is nationally determined contribution, is a part of Paris Agreement, which was adopted in 2015. So when you talk about NDC, it is definitely a part of Paris Agreement of 2015. So what is NDC? Simply understand, NDC is a pledge that each country makes to reduce its greenhouse emissions and to adapt the impacts of climate change. So a country called A, definitely country is actually pledging, means it is having a nationally determined contribution. A is pledging that I'll cut down this energy, I'll contribute this much. So this is NDC, simply means it's a pledge which a country makes. So please, this is the most easiest understand. Each country designs what actions it will take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to climate change impact. So it should be based on their situation and needs. And let's understand that this can include like what is my pledge? We'll use more clean energy, we'll cut down pollution, we'll protect our carbon sinks or forest, and we'll prepare for extreme weather. All these can be NDC, and a pledge. Always remember, this is always a pledge that a country takes. The idea is that every country pitches in to do this part to tackle climate change, but they how to do it. This flexibility allows for fairness, and so all these things are important. So just understand, it is a pledge. And what can NDCs include? They can include definitely reduce emissions, and it can have a plan for renewable energy development and increasing energy efficiency, protecting forest and other natural carbon sinks, building resilience to climate, build resilience to climate impact. All these, see, whatever things I've given here can be examples a country can pledge and contribute to NDC. So the countries are expected to periodically review and update their NDC to reflect their evolving circumstances. So all of this is based on their strategy. So definitely, what is our Paris Agreement and what is our biggest thing is to limit global warming to below 2 degrees Celsius of pre-industrial level, and to pursue limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The world is trying for this, not to take it about 2, but limit it to almost 1.5 or below. It's a good thing. This is our demand. We're working on that. So apart from mitigation, NDC also outlines strategies like how we can cope with climate change, such as increased weather events, rising sea levels, shifting temperature patterns. How are we responding to it? It is also a part of NDC. Not only mitigation, how do we respond to climate change? What is our planning for extreme weather events? So the countries are expected to report regularly their emissions and as well as update their NDCs every 5 years to reflect ambition. So every 5 years, it's good to have an ambition. And definitely, there is another important principle, the CBDR principle, common but differentiated responsibilities. So now this brings us, we've already understood NDC. What is this principle? You learn about environment, definitely you should know. Take a pick, develop. It's a battle between, it's a understanding between, it's already a battle, developed and developing countries. We must all do something, and when we say we mean you. So this has been the attitude. This is a meme or a cartoon that came up for CBDR. Let's understand what do you mean by CBDR. No CBDR, common but differentiated responsibilities. So imagine that this is the earth. A lot of people from different parts of the earth are polluting or contributing to the pollution or emission of the world, emission into the world. So we can say that one is developing country and another is a developed country. It can be a developing country or it can be another developing country or developed country. So whoever it is, definitely there is a responsibility. It's a common but differentiated responsibilities which we have for this earth. So definitely it's an international environment law, particularly in the context of climate change negotiation. Okay, let's see, understand what it is. It acknowledges that all countries share a common responsibility to address global environmental challenges like climate change, but have different capacities and historical contributions. So imagine that this is the earth, and there are 4 or 5 countries like A, B, C, D, which are here. And imagine that C is that one country which has contributed maximum to the carbon emissions or environmental damage. And next, after C, it is D. And after D, it is A. So you can see that B is one country which is a very developing country. It's a very small country which has not greatly contributed. But definitely when you look at the earth, everybody has a common responsibility. But the key question that the world is asking, B's responsibility is lesser when you compare the responsibility of C and D because they are the biggest polluters. So they have bigger responsibility of saving this. So this is a big debate that is still going on. What is your view on that? So all countries, regardless of their level of development or historical emissions, have a responsibility to address global environmental challenges. Is true. This highlights the interconnected nature of environmental issues and the need for collective action. So there is a difference. So always understand there is a common but differentiated responsibilities. But there are debates also. See, a country have different capabilities, resource, and historical contributions to environment problem. Developed countries which have historically emitted more greenhouse gases have greater technology and financial resources are expected to take the lead. Definitely, they have emitted more, they are more developed, they have better technology, so definitely they should take the lead. So so is this a good thing, only putting the blame on the developing countries? So understand, in 1992 it was this concept was developed under United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The UNFCCC in 1992 created this CBDR, and the greater historic responsibility of industrial nation in contributing to emission, and thus they should take the lead in combating climate change. Whoever has contributed, they let them take the list, and most often it is developed countries. But there was another important challenge between developed and developing countries. This dichotomy has been criticized because some developing countries have grown to become significant emitters themselves. Some developing countries are emitting more than the developed countries. So how do you say that? It is not always the developed countries which should say. So we have a differentiated responsibility and a common responsibility also. So Paris, so definitely Paris Agreement brought that everybody can plan their NDC based on their individual circumstances. So definitely this is the principle of CBDR, and understand this debate clearly. And so know this, what is CBDR. uh, Now it is an evolving thing. Not always understand, not every time developed countries should take it. It should be a common thing, but definitely developed countries are more technology, they can take a lead in this. Next is coming to Gulf of Khambhat. So where exactly is this? If you take a look at the Gujarat, you can see this Gujarat area. Definitely Gujarat, Maharashtra. So this sea area, this small gulf is called as Gulf of Khambhat. You can see in this picture. I'll just give you a closer image on this. So take a close look at this. You can see Dadra and Nagar Haveli, and definitely you have a Maharashtra's small angle here. And in the Arabian Sea, you can see from this is the small gulf, which is actually you can see this Bhavnagar in Gujarat, and you can see Surat, Baruch, and you can even see this small area is Gulf of Khambhat, and when you extend it, you can go up to Gulf of Kutch. So Gulf of Khambhat, know the location clearly. It is in the news, Gulf of Khambhat. So why is it very important? Let's quickly understand. So it is also called the Gulf of Cambay, is an inlet in Arabian Sea along the western coast in the state of Gujarat, almost 200 kilometers in length and varies about 20 to 70 kilometers in width. So 200 kilometers, it's long. And the Gulf is formed by the Kathiawar Peninsula on the western side of the southern part of Gujarat. So know about this location very clearly. So what are some of the important features? One is it is one of the highest and the most significant tidal range in India or in the world. It's a tidal range. So definitely, why tidal range? What is this tidal range? The tides, definitely I'm assuming that in the geography you know what is a tide. Tides in the Gulf can rise and fall as much to 10 meters, 33 feet it can go up, creating a strong tidal currents and influencing the hydrology of the regions. So Gulf of Khambhat is bordered by several important cities like Baruch, Surat, Khambhat, or also known as Cambay, and Bhavanagar. These coastal areas are a hub of economic activities like shipping, fishing. So it's a very important thing. So it's very important. The tidal current is important for the hydrology. It's a tidal range. And it's also important for a large number of marine life like fish, crustaceans, and marine mammals. A lot of mangrove forests are parts of this. So definitely mangrove is a part of this. And the ancient city of Lothal, when you talk about Indus Valley, located near the Gulf, was a major center of Indus Valley. So even in the ancient center, this area was very important. Imagine the Lothal port. So know about this. And it's also important industrial center such as petrochemical industry, shipbuilding are all part of Gulf of Khambhat. So it's a transportation route moving from Gujarat ports. So a lot of commerce happening in this region. So remember, this is about the Gulf of Khambhat. So please know in detail. And next, moving on quickly, is into defense and Agni missiles and the full Agni series. See, the idea is not to learn everything by heart. Know what is the missile, what is the range, and what are some of the important features. Let's quickly deal this, or else, if you try to learn this continuously, it will be very boring. There are a lot of other missiles in India which you cannot remember every missile, but Agni is very important. Let's know what is Agni P or Agni Prime. The Agni-P is a two-stage canistered solid propellant ballistic missile with a dual radar navigation and guidance system created by DRDO. Very important. DRDO is behind this. So Agni-P or Agni-Prime has 1,000 to 2,000 kilometer, and for the first time tested in 2021, and it's lighter than early Agni series. So 1,000 to 200,000 to 2,000 kilometer it can go. So in June 23, the first pre-induction night was conducted by the users. So definitely Agni P, I have an understand. The Agni series of missile constitute the backbone of India's nuclear weapons delivery, which also includes Prithvi short-range ballistic missiles. And so Agni is definitely the backbone of nuclear weapons delivery. So please, all this can be a prelim statement also. Agni is the backbone of nuclear weapons delivery. India has completed its nuclear triad with operational second strike capability. So definitely, India has this nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, INS Arihant undering. So India has this nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine which is INS Arihant. So please remember this. And what are the other important series? So let's take it under detail. Agni-Prime is a new generation missile of the MRBM. What is this MRBM category? It's new generation. It's nuclear. Definitely Agni is nuclear capable. MRBM is medium range ballistic missile. Please remember MRBM, medium range ballistic missile, developed by DRDO. It incorporates technology from Agni 4 and 5 and is considered a successor of Agni 1 and 2. So it's a successing of everything. It's an advancement of Agni 4 and 5, and it's a successor of Agni 1 and 2. So it has both 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 features. So it has got a strike range of 1000 to 2000, we have already discussed, and it has got its own maneuverable re-entry vehicle, the MARV, improved propellants and navigation and guidance systems. Agni has that, and it's a two surface to surface. So Agni, it is a two-stage surface to surface road, mobile and solid fuel missile, which can be transported by a truck and launched via canister like country's first intercontinental ballistic missile ICBM. Agni 5, look at Agni 5, it's over 5,000 kilometers. So it's surface to surface. You can actually launch it in a truck. Definitely you can actually use it in a transported by a truck. So surface to surface is very important, Agni. It is a ballistic missile with a dual redundant navigation and guidance system also. So please do remember about this important aspect. So know about this in detail. So look at the Prime. Agni Prime looks similar to Agni 3. The weight is reduced by half. It will replace the older generation missiles such as Prithvi 2, Agni 2 and Agni 3. So and even Agni 4. So please roughly understand, it can replace many of the previous Agni series. That is important. Okay, that is the one thing that you have to understand from this. And along with Agni 5, you can have an idea. Agni P will provide India with a stronger deterrence against country like China and Pakistan. That is why we create all these rockets. So while Agni 5 brings all of China within its strike range, Agni P seems to have developed to counter Pakistan's forces also. We can actually target to China and Pakistan. It's created like that. So how does it started? It was started in 1980s when India developed the Agni series under the IGMDP or Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, which Abdul Kalam was heading. It got the approval in 1983. So from 1983, IGMDP is Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, and we have been using Agni since 1980. Something very important that we have to remember here. So IGMDP was aimed at making India self-sufficient in missile technology, and the program has 5 missiles. Very important. This is IGMDP should be remembered. Why is IGMDP part of India? Patna, Patna, which is Prithvi, Agni, Trishul, Nag and Akash. So these are the 5 missiles under IGMDP, which is Patna. Remember this acronym: Prithvi, Agni, Trishul, Nag and Akash. So please remember this. So Agni P is the 6th missile in the Agni, and it's a family of medium developed. So we are already discussing. So remember Patna, very, very important point, the missile systems. And let's quickly understand what are the important Agni series. So, as I told, don't by heart this. Let's take the most important one. Agni is a 2-stage and with a solid fuel first stage, tested in the range in 1989. Agni 1, 1989. What is the strike range? 700 to 1,200 kilometer. It can carry a payload of 1,000 kilometer. So Agni 1 is less costly, simple and accurate. So 700 to 1,200 kilometer range, a payload capacity of 1,000 kilo, 1989. So remember all these points, that is more than enough. Agni 2, again 2-stage ballistic missile, strike range of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometer. Launched, again payload capacity 1,000 kilograms and 2012. So after 1989, it's 2012. And range of 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers. Agni 3, again intermediate range ballistic missile, 3,500 to 5,000 kilometer range. Agni 3, tested in 2006 from Wheeler Island, payload capacity of 1,500 kilogram. It's increasing. Agni 3. Agni 4, it's again intermediate range ballistic missile, range is 4,000, again tested in 2011 from Wheeler Island. And Agni 4, bridges 2 and 3, And Agni 4 can take a warhead of again payload capacity 1000 kilogram. So Agni 4 is designed to kill efficiency and higher range performance. It's such a higher range performance. It can be fired from a mobile launcher. So Agni 4 is for greater efficiency. You can use it. Agni 5 is again ICBM. It's intercontinental ballistic missile, strike range of 7,000 kilometer. Just imagine 7,000 kilometer. Tested in 2012, and again later in 2013, again and from Odisha. So Agni 6 is a capable intercontinental missile under DRDO. It's the most advanced version of Agni missile. So this is roughly the Agni series. No, the strike range capacity from 1,000 to 7,000 kilometer strike range is there. Know about this because definitely every time there is a prelims examination, there is a question from missile, Prithvi, or some missile defense technology is definitely asked. So please be very thorough in this. And now it's in India's nuclear power energy statistics. You know why I've created this is because look at the statistics. When you learn, look at the statistics, it can come as a prelims. See, these statistics can appear. India is going to be a developed country by 2047 and achieve net carbon emission by 2070. We already discussed. So in order to that, we said we need to decarbonize, increase the carbon sink. Likewise, the nuclear energy accounts for only 1.6% of energy mix now. So total energy, nuclear energy is just 1.6%. Statistics. In the best case scenario, emissions in 2070 would fall to 0.5 billion tons of carbon dioxide, with nuclear power rising to 30 gigawatt. See, by 20 nuclear power will be 30 gigawatt in 2030 and 265 gigawatt in 2050. So definitely from 30 in 20 years we are going to increase from 30 to 265 gigawatts. Remember these statistics, like have an idea how much we'll grow. Nuclear power will contributing to 4% of India's total energy. Now it is just 1.6% nuclear energy. It can go up to 4% in 2030 and 30% in 2050, and with solar power decreasing. So definitely imagine by 2050 265 gigawatt will be nuclear power. So in this also know what is nuclear power. I'm not going into all those details. Know about this. And definitely we have discussed coal is going to be the backbone for next 20 years. So facing down coal will be very important. Like use alternate source like nuclear power, flexible grid infrastructure, energy storage for integrating renewable energy. Everything is needed to cut down coal. All this is, see, this can even be a question. How can we cut down or phase out coal? Create more nuclear power, flexible grid infrastructure, have more energy storage space, integrating renewable energy, all are going to cut down coal. So currently operating 22 nuclear reactors, about 3% of supply chain. So 1.6 to 3%, we have to increase it 4% by 2030. So the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, NPCIL, is a key player responsible for the design, construction and operation of nuclear reactors. It is also noted that India is also exploring the use of thorium. We have all heard about Now we are looking for thorium, which is more abundant in India than uranium, to fuel its reactors. So definitely thorium is more abundant in India than uranium. Know about this. And let's see some nuclear reactors. So please remember Kudankulam in Tamil Nadu. And when you look at this side, please look at this. This is the Jetapur reactor and the Kaiga. So red is for operating, yellow is for under construction, blue is for proposed. And the Tarapur, look at the Tarapur, the Kovada, Haripur is Bhimpur, Chutka is all proposed one. And look at the Kakrapara. Look at this, the Kakrapara and the New Delhi, the Narora, the Mahibanaswara, the Kakrapara was already discussed, Kudankulam, Kaiga. Look at the important nuclear power plants which are going to be inside this. So please know about this in detail. Now let's quickly move on to shrimp export. Again, giving you statistics on this. Definitely you know what you mean by shrimp. Something that you take it from exports are good aspect. India's seafood exports reach 8.9 billion in 64,000 crores, with shrimp accounting to around 5.6 billion. So just imagine in the 8 billion seafood export, more than 50%, 5.6 billion out of 8 is shrimp export. India has become one of the world's largest shrimp exporter, capturing 40% of the US market, surpassing companies like Thailand, China, Vietnam and Ecuador. We have surpassed all this country. 40% market of US shrimp market is with us, India. So this can be a statistics. So presented in the Corporate Accountability Lab claim, uh, it is actually a report which was actually done, claim that in we have dangerous and abusive working condition in shrimp hatcheries, growing ponds and processing sheds, which is the important think tanks have criticized India for having dangerous and abusive working conditions. So we have to look at. However, Indian officials refute this claim. We have look at this Marine Products Export Development Authority. The please remember the MPEDA, the Marine Products Export Development Authority is actually considering this. So a lot of things. So definitely know about MPEDA. This was once asked in the mains examination to write about this thing. So know about such organizations, and India's shrimp industry is significant with about 1 lakh shrimp farms in Andhra Pradesh contributing to 70% of the shrimps output. Very, very important. Please know India is occupying 40% of America's market. $8 billion dollars is India's seafood export, and out of that, $5 billion is for shrimp, and 70% of that is coming from Andhra Pradesh. Is again a statistics. So 70% of 8 million jobs in the sectors are held by women, including roles in hatcheries. So women are working on this. So know the statistics. I wanted to tell you about this. Next is, what is ISPRL, Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited. What is this? Let's understand. This was also in the news. Everything that I am discussing is taken from the newspaper. So Indian Strategic Petroleum Research Limited, ISPRL, plays a crucial role in enhancing India's energy security by maintaining. What is ISPRL doing? Strategic petroleum reserves. They are maintaining strategic petroleum reserves. Please remember, it was established in 2004 by Government of India under Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. So it's under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. It's tasked with construction, maintenance, operation of India's strategic petroleum reserve facilities. So please understand, ISPRL is definitely its ultimate job is to maintain strategic petroleum reserves. So as of 23, India has established strategic reserves at different locations like Visakhapatnam has almost 1.33 million metric tons MMT, and in Mangaluru, Karnataka, it has got almost 1.5 MMT, and in Padur in Karnataka again has the highest capacity, 2.5 million metric tons. So remember, Visakhapatnam, Mangalore, Padur, all in Karnataka and Andhra has got this big important thing that we can remember this. So these reserves collectively provide, what do you think they do? They collectively provide storage capacity of almost 5.3 million tons of crude oil, which is capable of covering about 9.5 days of country's crude oil requirement based on consumption pattern. So just imagine the ISPRLs together provide storage capacity. You can actually add this up. You can see even it's Visakhapatnam, it's 1.33, Mangaluru it's 1.4, 1.5, and roughly Padur in Karnataka 2.5. So almost 5.33 million metric tons of crude oil we can store it, which is more than sufficient for 9.5 days of the country's crude oil requirement. So the government has given in principle approval of another additional facility in Chandikhol in Odisha, 4 million metric tons, and Karnataka, definitely Padur is 2.5. It's under construction on the next expansion phase. So definitely it can add up to 12 additional days of coverage. So storage capacity of petroleum reserves is very important. ISPRL is concerned with that. So please remember this. So India also plans to build the first commercial crude oil strategic storage as a part to actually have against supply chain disruption. So ISPRL is an SPV created by the government for building and operating strategic petroleum reserves in the country. And already we have got some idea. So strategic petroleum reserves are important. They are reserves. They are actually in underground, unlined rock caverns at the 3 locations. So just imagine they are actually, look at the location type that we are talking about. Okay, so that's all about, and let's moving on to one of the last topics. What are OEM? This appears in business news very frequently with regard to the car, electric vehicles, etc. What are OEMs? OEMs are going to get this. So what do you mean by this? OEMs are original equipment manufacturers, or OEM. So this is in the news. So let's understand. Original equipment manufacturers are companies that produce parts or equipments that may be marketed by another manufacturer. So imagine that there is two people called A and B. A is manufacturing everything. They are manufacturing parts, equipments, etc. But say, imagine they have created a part called X. Company A has created X, but the X is marketed by B. X is taken forward, or the marketing assemblies that are used in another company's end product. So anything B uses this, but it coming from A, that may be marketed by another manufacturer. Essentially, OEMs make components or sub-assembly part that are used in another company's end products. So A is creating X, but B's company is using it in the end product. So X is marketed or used by B. So this is OEM in very short, simple terms. So they focus on building parts that are used in the products of another company, known as the VAR. What is VAR in economics? You can see in business term, this is the value added reseller. So the B that I told you is the VAR. They are value added reseller. Know this idea. So this is a typical B2B business, business to business, supplying parts to companies that sell finished goods and consumers. So in many cases, parts made by OEM are essential to the product sold under different companies' brand. So let's take some example. So I told you X is very important for B. So without X, B's business is not possible, and without A, there is no X. A creates X and B uses X for the final product or marketing. Please remember this. Let me give you a good example. Many OEMs are expanding the roles to becoming original manufacturer, original design manufacturers, where they may not only manufacture products but also design them according to companies. So now it's not only OEM, so it's not about OEM. Now most of the OEMs are trying to become ODM, or original design manufacturer. Not only parts, they also want to create designs. And they are also innovating in electronics, automotive component, aerospace. So let's take an example. I'll give you an example. Ashok Leyland is act as an OEM by manufacturing engines and other key components for the range of buses and trucks. So many things that the buses, trucks are using, assembling to create their products. In this case, the company A is Ashok Leyland is one such example, which is an OEM. And I'll give another example. Havells. An example is Havells manufacture vast array of products like industrial and domestic circuit protection, device, cables, wiring, electrical appliance. So this is actually used by other products, a company called B, which use Havells to create their products, and they sell it. So in this case, Havells is an example of OEM. I hope now you understood what you mean by OEM. So have an idea. This was in the news. So definitely now moving on to before we go on to the map, let's understand the United Nations Human Rights Council. This is the Human Rights Council picture that you see is always in the news. So what do you know about Human Rights Council? Every time there is a question from the United Nations also. So it's a principal United Nations body responsible for what? One, promoting. Two, protecting human rights. So they want to protect human rights is the most important thing. So remember, United Nations Human Rights Council, or the UNHRC, was established in 2006 by the United Nations General Assembly as a successor to United Nations Commission on Human Rights. So please remember, it was a successor to United Nations UNCHR, or now it has become United Nations Human Rights Council. Now it was actually human rights, and now it has become council. So it was criticized for inefficiency and polarization. It is headquartered in Geneva in Switzerland. UNHRC, United Nations Human Rights Council. United Nations HCR, Human Rights. It's United Nations Human Rights Council and United Nations. Please remember, UNHRC is always appearing in the newspapers. So get it from Geneva. Consisting of 47 members elected by United Nations General Assembly is another important thing. Through a majority vote, members serve a 3-year term. So definitely 47 members are elected by UNGA. UNGA means United General Assembly. 3-year term with 1/3 of the council seat for election every year. 1/3 of the seats election every year, and a 3-year term is given to one country. So, definitely, what is the objective? Protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms, human right violations. All this is part of UNHRC. And please remember, what is UPR in this context of UNHRC? So, it examines country situations, adopt resolutions, and conduct review of member states through Universal Periodic Review or UPR. What is this UPR? Let's understand. One of the unique features of UNHRC is UPR or Universal Periodic Review. It is a unique process which involves a review of the human rights records of all UN member states. So, definitely there is a review of all the UN member states. How is it protecting the human rights? So, this is the Universal Periodic Review. Everybody is tracked. It provides an opportunity for each state to declare what actions they have taken to improve human rights situations in their country. So definitely you have to know what is the contribution that you have taken. Every country is reviewed. That is UPR or Universal Periodic Review of UNHRC. Remember this. And please remember, OHCR is another important office that you have to remember. The Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, the OHCHR. This office serves as the Secretariat of United Nations Human Rights Council. So, please understand, the High Commissioner for Human Rights is the principal human rights official at the United States, heads this office. It's a principal human rights official. So OHCHR, Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights, its part is the principal High Commissioner for Human Rights. And it plays a very pivotal role. So definitely please remember OHCR. Okay. So now that is it. Now we are coming to the end of the session. Now let's quickly analyze two important countries that are in the news. So one is Zimbabwe. Definitely an African country. You know, this is the flag of Zimbabwe. So look at Zimbabwe. Definitely the cities like Bulawayo, Harare, Zimbabwe, Harare are all important cities. So look at this. When you look at definitely there is a border, South Africa. You can see Botswana. And look at near the Zimbabwe, look at this point. Whenever, please try to remember the Victoria. If you want to see where this is in Africa, you can take a look at this. This is actually in this position of Africa. I have more clear picture. So look at the Lake Kariba. Lake Kariba. Look at Zambia. So Zambia, definitely Mozambique, South Africa, Botswana, Victoria Lake, all Victoria Falls are all part of Zimbabwe. Let's take a closer look at this. If you want to see the map of Africa, look at this. Definitely South Africa is at the lower, and this is a small country, Lesotho and Swaziland. Definitely you should, it's a small place, Lesotho and Swaziland. And this side you have the Madagascar, and you can check Mozambique. You can check Mozambique and Botswana, and you can see Zambia at this point. So please remember, not only that, please remember the Victoria Falls, Lake Kariba, all are part of the Zimbabwe. And you should have an idea. When you say Africa, you should know where is South Africa and where is Zaire. It's almost at this position. And where is Sudan? It's in the upper part. And where is Zimbabwe? Definitely it is in this part. So looks like very much similar to India. You can just, if you take a close observation, you can see if it is South India, if it goes Maharashtra, this is almost, if you look at this picture, this is almost like Gujarat. Dadra Nagar Haveli, Gulf of Khambhat. So it's not exactly, but I just see there is a striking similarity also. If this is India, remember that on this side, on the eastern side, so areas like Tamil Nadu, remember that is where Zimbabwe lies in. These are small things to remember. And next is country called Uganda. Where is Uganda located? You can say a close look. You can see borders of Kenya. Uganda is bordered by Kenya. And if you come to this side, definitely Sudan is actually here. Sudan. And if you look at this side, you have Democratic Republic of Congo. All this is part of this. And it comes to down, you can see even Tanzania and even Rwanda are all part. So what are some of the important, when you talk about, look at where it is located on the African map. So definitely look at the, we have discussed Zimbabwe, Botswana, you discussed Zimbabwe. This is Zimbabwe. So Uganda is almost top to it. It's even the Congo, and almost at this point is Uganda, where Africa, you can check this. So what are some of the important things that we can look at? Uganda is definitely at this side. Sudan, Kenya, you can see Tanzania, Rwanda, etc., and Congo on this side. So please understand Uganda, Lake Victoria, just like Lake Victoria, you can see Lake Victoria on the side, and on the side you can see Lake Edward. There is another Lake Edward and Lake Albert. So all these are name of people. So definitely remember this: Lake Victoria, Lake Edward, Lake Albert are all on this side. So which is making it very clear on this. So you can look at the Uganda on this side. You can take a look at the Kenya, Tanzania here, and look at the Democratic Republic of Congo on this side, and look at Sudan on this side. So have a clarity on Uganda map. So know where it is located in Africa. Know where it is located in Africa. Look at this position. So that's all for today's session. I'm coming with more important topics. So do subscribe to IAS Factor by LearnStroke, and do download our app from the Play Store to know more. So I'll come up with more topics. So thank you so much, and let's see for the next class. Thank you.